A glimpse of fire could be seen inside Victor's eyes as he glared at Brian. As if his good mood had gone, he slowly let go of Sophia and stepped toward Brian. "Why so calm, Alpha Brian?" A smirk formed on Brian's lips. He looked sinister, which shook many of them. As if he were trying to rein in his anger, Victor clenched his jaw tightly. "If you had crossed the border that night, you would not be here smirking like this." Brian sneered at him. In their own realms, every alpha reigns supreme. But everyone knows who the real king is, and who is a tempted beast. Sophia was too shocked to react. She could hear their conversation in low tones. She could see Victor was losing his temper. She had never seen him get out of control like this. So before Victor could do something foolish, she held his hand and said, "Victor, calm down." Brian's eyes immediately turned back to Sophia as his lips curled, fading the smirk. He looked down at her hand, which was holding Victor's. Victor looked at Sophia and sighed. He smiled at her as if he had not been mad just a few seconds ago. "Let's enjoy the party. It's a celebration for us, isn't it?" Sophia blinked her eyes. She had no idea how to react. She gave him a nod. Then, she walked away while holding Victor's hand. Brian stared at her until she returned to her friends. He shifted his gaze away from Sophia when he heard Mila's voice. He looked at the guests and said, "Continue the party." With terrified faces, everyone turned their attention away from the two alphas. Very soon, the hall returned to normal. People began to enjoy the party once more, this time with two celebrations. Meanwhile, Sophia wanted to speak with Victor about his announcement, but it looked like he was avoiding the discussion. He went to his pack's people and started talking to them. Sophia rubbed her brow in frustration. She did not know the situation would turn out like this. "Sophia, are you really going to marry Alpha Victor?" Sarah asked with a worried face. Sophia remained quiet. She could not say anything to anyone until she spoke with Victor. Nolan held Sophia's hand and spoke in a convincing tone. "Sophia, you are too good for Alpha Victor. He is not our pack's alpha. He has a very bad reputation with women. You should consider your decision." Sophia was speechless. How would she consider anything when Victor did not even give her the opportunity to decide something? He was the one who made the decision and announced it without asking her. She withdrew her hand from Nolan's grip and mumbled, "I can't say anything right now. Give me some time. I will explain everything later." As Nolan was about to say something, he noticed his sister, Tracy, and her boyfriend, Hector. Because they were Bruce's friends, they got the invitation. Sophia noticed them and told Nolan and Sarah to meet them. "What about you?" Sarah asked her. "I need to get some fresh air right now." "Are you all right, Sophia?" "Yeah, I am fine, I promise." Sarah nodded and walked over to Tracy and Hector, accompanied by Nolan. Sophia knew both of her friends were worried about her. However, right now she did not need anyone but needed to spend some time all alone. Her head was nearly spinning from stress. She looked around before turning left down a hallway. The people around her glanced at her, making her feel awkward. As if she was already their Luna, a few of them even bowed to her. She wondered why they were scared of Victor. Even his own father could not speak in front of him. While she was walking through the hallway, she discovered another smaller hall. It was dark. She looked around, observing the couches through the moonlight streaming through the window. It appeared to be a launch area where alphas could have private conversations. For the evening, all of the lights were turned off because the hall was not going to be used. She moved over to stand close to a window. The fresh wind caused her to close her eyes. She wanted to go to the forest and run for a while. She did not know where her fate was leading her. How would she become the Luna of a pack? How could she leave this pack? What about her family? What about her? Was she okay with it? She liked Victor as a man, but he was not someone she wanted to spend her life with. It would only destroy two lives. He deserved someone who loved and accepted him in their heart. Her eyes glowed an ocean blue when she opened them. As hatred grew in her heart, anger rose in her mind. She believed all of that was happening because of that one man, Brian Morrison. He was responsible for everything she had to go through. If he had not come into her life and played with her by blackmailing her brother's position, she would not have had to face the time where she had no idea what was going to happen in her life. While she was thinking about what to say to Victor, a hand grabbed her arm and turned her around. Her eyes returned to black in surprise, and she gasped as her back was pressed hard against the wall next to the window. She saw a pair of red, fierce eyes looking at her. They were extremely close to her. It was as if they would hunt her alive. She composed herself and faced the man with those eyes without a trace of fear. "Alpha Brian?" She muttered in an indifferent tone, as if he were no one to her but only the head alpha of her pack. Brian gazed into her cold eyes. Without saying anything to her, he stared at her. Sophia did not break eye contact as she asked, "Why are you here, Alpha?" "You should enjoy the celebration. Your wedding is in just 1 month." She felt his hands tighten around her arms. She grinned at him. "What happened, Alpha Bri?" Brian moved closer to her, which interrupted her. Her breath hitched in her throat as she blinked her eyes. His cold breath touched her face as he spoke. "So you are mateless, huh?" Sophia raised a brow when she heard Brian. Under her breath, she murmured, as if amused, "You are indeed a very strong man, Brian Morrison, but I can't ignore how shameless you are as well." Brian clenched his jaw as his eyes fixed on her face. He was trying to control his rage. He was mad at her for holding another man's hand, giving another man the right to touch her, and agreeing to be with another man. "I asked you something. Are you mateless?" Sophia gave him the impression of a fearless woman who did not have any fear. Her eyes became colder as she responded, "Yes, I am mateless." He glared at her, tightened his fists, and almost forgot that he was holding her arms. When she hissed in pain, he immediately relaxed his grip. She closed her eyes and shook her head. "Alpha Brian, all you can do is hurt me, but I am used to it." She opened her eyes and looked into his, then asked, "You only want to hear the answer that fits your needs." She paused for a moment, then smirked at him. "Am I right, mate?" Hearing her call him mate felt blissful to his ears. His eyes softened as they turned black. This woman's every word and action had such an impact on him that he struggled to control himself in front of others. He hated it. He despised the fact that someone else controlled him. "Why are you doing this?" he asked in a soft tone, moving closer to her. She did not move a little bit. Isn't this what I asked you a year ago? Why are you doing this? I cannot believe how fast the table turns. Don't you think so?" She looked in a cheerful mood, as if she were thrilled to be in this moment. Brian froze as he remembered what she had said to him a year ago. Indeed, this was exactly what she asked him. "I know why you are doing this. You want to destroy me, right?" he muttered in displeasure. She stared at him without replying. Usually, he did not like anyone's silence when he asked them anything. However, right now, he liked her silence. There was some hope that the answer would be no. Perhaps she did not want that. His eyes slowly stroked her beautiful face. The moonlight glowed on her face as if she were the moon child that every alpha was looking for. He realized that he had not been with this woman for a year. She had changed a lot. Her beauty, behavior, and personality all changed in just a year. He delicately ran his fingers over her bare arms. His touch caused her eyes to slowly close, which satisfied him. When he realized she was still reacting the same way she had before, a grin appeared in the corner of his lips. She had not forgotten the feeling of his touch yet. When he leaned down and moved closer to her ear, his nose brushed her cheek. It made her heart race faster. He closed his eyes and whispered in her ear, "That man is not right for you." His deep voice caused Sophia to open her eyes immediately, as if she had just realized that she almost got lost in his charms. She immediately pushed against his chest. Brian did not move slightly. He just shifted his head to look at her. "Stay away from him." He did not mind how Sophia was looking at her with an angry face. If there had been another person in her position, he would have pulled their eyes out for their audacity. However, it was Sophia. He could never think of doing anything to her. Even he did not know why he gave this woman such power to do whatever she wanted. "It is you who should stay away from me," she muttered angrily. He smirked at him. "What do you think? Will I let you go if you give me this angry look?" She gulped as he placed both of his arms beside her head, trapping her between his arms. "Brian Morrison, if you keep getting closer to me, I will kill you," she said in a furious tone. He scoffed at her when she challenged him. It made him go even closer to her. He almost pressed his body against hers. There were only a few inches separating them. You can give these warnings to that man, not me. I am Brian Morrison, not that newly crowned alpha, Victor Laurent. She took a pause as if stunned by his words. You have 1 month to clean up this mess. Just tell that man you don't want to marry him. After a long time of silence, she began to laugh like a madwoman. She shook her head as if she could not believe it. Why would I do that? Why would I call off that marriage? Oh, wait, to become Alpha Brian's mistress? To let him play with my body and satisfy his desire? Brian did not like how she said that. Her words enraged him, and he asked, Didn't I let you go and let you live peacefully? I did not force you to do anything. Then why are you getting in my way? Your way? What's your way? Now, I cannot move on with another man in my life and have a husband like any other woman, she inquired with an innocent expression. No, he answered directly. There was no room for a sugar-coating. Sophia's eyes blazed with fame as she pushed him with both hands. It was powerful enough to move him a few steps. Her actions stunned him. She glared at him and said, I have already told you how much I hate you. Just marry that woman and be happy. If you come in my way and dare to touch my man in order to hurt him or plan to cancel the wedding, I will reveal the truth in front of everyone that I have been hiding for the past 2 years. Sophia could not believe how this man had almost captivated her again just a few minutes ago. She did not understand where he got so much confidence to come to talk to her after everything he had done to her. She reminded herself that she hated him, his touch, and his existence. She warned him to stay away from Victor. A frown appeared on Brian's face as he let out a low growl. Your man? Dare to call him that again? She was puzzled. Was that the only thing he heard over all that she had just said? He is not only my man, but also my future alpha, husband, and mate, because I will let him mark me after the wedding. Stop saying all these things. Don't force me to. She walked past him while mumbling, I don't care about your warning. I have nothing to do with you. Brian grabbed her arm and turned her to face him. That man is not good for you. He is not the person you are thinking of. He is evil. Sophia could not help but chuckle. And you are a saint? He was taken aback by her question. He took a deep breath and let out, You don't get what is going on, Sophia Berge. I don't want to know either. I will marry him for sure. He is my boyfriend, and I said he likes me a lot. He is not someone who will make me his mistress, but rather someone who will give me something that my mate could never give. It's not only Luna's position, but also the name of the relationship that will give me respect in front of everyone. He will not make me another woman in a married couple, but the main reason is that he made me forget the man I once loved. Brian stared at her. His heart was clenching inside, thinking of her with another man. He could never see that. Leave me. I don't want my boyfriend to see me with you like this. I don't want any misunderstanding. He hates you, and so do I. You cannot hate me, he grumbled. I do. Didn't you say I was not qualified to be your enemy? Look at me. Very soon, I will be the Luna of your rival. Brian's hand tightened as he lost his temper. Sophia struggled to free herself as he grabbed her arms tightly. Let me go, she said a little loudly. Alpha! Sophia froze when she heard her brother's voice. She slowly turned her head to the side. Abraham had just walked into the hall and noticed Brian holding Sophia like that. Hurrying over to Brian, he said, Please leave my sister. Brian did not give a damn about his plea, as his eyes were fixed on Sophia. He had a furious look. His eyes were so dark that they could devour anyone in the darkness. Alpha, I am asking for an apology. Please don't hurt her. Abraham nearly trembled in his voice. Though he was Brian's gamma, he did not have the same relationship with him as Robert and Edgar, allowing him to speak to him informally. He was only his gamma, not one of his friends. Brother, Sophia mumbled. She was surprised to see her brother come to her rescue. After all the humiliation he had to go through for her, he still cared for her and apologized to his alpha for letting her go. She felt emotional, but she did not want to show her emotions in front of the other man, who was digging her eyes at her. Alpha, please, I beg you. Brother, don't beg him. He doesn't deserve it. Abraham expressed his dissatisfaction to Sophia by looking at her and saying, Let me talk to him. He was afraid that Brian would kill Sophia. How could someone from his pack agree to marry his rival Alpha? Not only that, but it was his very own Gamma's sister. Brian shut his eyes in rage and let go of Sophia's arms. As soon as he finally let her go, she took a few steps back. At that moment, Abraham immediately bowed to Brian and said, "You can punish me. I am ready for any punishment." Sophia's eyes widened. She approached Abraham and grabbed his arm to turn him toward her. "Why are you saying this, brother? Do you think he is our Lord? No way. He can't do anything if we all stop obeying him. He is nothing more than a coward. I am sorry to say that you chose the wrong Alpha for admiration. We should have left this pack after Dad's death if we knew we had to obey this kind of Alpha." "Sophia!" Abraham yelled at her. She flinched. She took a few steps back after removing her hands from his arm. "You always scold me because of this man," she said to Abraham while pointing her finger at Brian. Brian stared at her without moving his eyes for a single second. "For God's sake, Sophia, stop all of this. You have already messed up so many things by agreeing to be Alpha's Luna, whom we despise the most," Abraham told her. Sophia nodded her head and turned her head to look at Brian. "You think this man is perfect, right? Do you even know your Alpha's reality?" "What reality?" Abraham asked in confusion. Sophia folded her hands against her chest and answered, "Brother, didn't he tell you that he would discuss the maidabond after the party? The wedding date is set and confirmed for next month. Now ask him what he wanted to say." Abraham glanced at Brian and asked, "Alpha, you told me that? The mate bond is unbreakable." "I lied to you," Brian said in a cold tone without moving his gaze away from Sophia. Abraham's brows lifted in shock. "What are you saying, Alpha?" Sophia scoffed as she said, "Alpha? So much respect? Does he even deserve it? Isn't he going to marry another woman instead of his own mate?" Abraham shook his head. "Sophia, there must be something. Let me talk to him." "No, brother, you don't know this man." She looked into Brian's eyes and mumbled, "He considers your sister a very lowly woman." Her voice caught in her throat as she could not say those words in front of her brother, but she was not going to stop tonight. She took a shaky breath and continued, "He wanted your sister to be his mistress so that she could not go around and reveal the truth about the maidabond to others." Abraham could not believe what he had just heard. It hit him like a blow to the heart. His heart trembled, his knees were trembling, and his eyes were wide. He slowly turned his head away from Sophia and looked at Brian. His fear that what his sister was saying might be true grew when he saw his Alpha's cold face, but he still did not believe it. With a shaken voice, he asked, "Alpha, what is she talking about?" Sophia gave a disbelieving shake of her head, as though she were shocked that he was still holding faith in his Alpha. "Alpha?" he asked again. Brian answered, keeping his gaze fixed on Sophia. "It's true. I asked her to be my mistress a year ago." Abraham was shocked beyond words. His heart clenched inside, and rage rose in his mind. He was losing his cool as a brother, but his wolf was keeping him under control as a Gamma. Abraham took a step back as if he had lost everything. He looked at his sister, who was staring at him with pain in her eyes. Abaram's eyes became blurry because he did not know how to react. Sophia rushed to him. "Be brother," she mumbled. She was stunned to see his reaction. For the first time, he looked at her with a pale and broken expression. He did not even look like this when he lost his position 2 years ago, or when his mother became ill. He looked like he had failed at something. Sophia thought about it and decided not to say anything more. She could not tell him about the deal that she made with Brian about his position. She could not tell him about how he had made her his slave 1 year ago. She could not tell him how he played with her heart. It was because she did not want his brother to abandon his position for her. If he found out she had to spend nights with his Alpha in order to secure his position, his brother would break down. All of his confidence would shatter like glass, which she did not want. Abraham suddenly yanked her grip and walked over to Brian. He grabbed his collar in rage. "How dare you? How could you even consider offering that to my sister? Do you think she is just a woman with whom you can play whenever you want? My sister was devastated by your brother, and now you." Though Abraham was the Gamma of the pack, right now, he was a brother. He dared to speak to his Alpha in such a way, despite the wolf inside of him growling. But he caged him inside. Gamma Abraham! There was a loud growl coming from the hallway entrance. All the lights switched on, and 3 men rushed toward Abraham. It was Beta Robert who growled at Abraham. Delta Edger pulled Abraham away from Brian and punched him hard. Brother! Sophia ran to her brother and touched his swollen cheek, but Abraham lost his temper. His glowing eyes swept over every official standing beside their alpha. He dared to disobey their alpha, and for that, they were furious with him. Ask him why he did that. My sister was living a good life. What made him break her that way? Did he think my sister is a plaything? Abraham asked furiously. Beta Robert glared at Abraham and muttered, Have you completely lost your mind, Gamma? Did you have the audacity to touch the collar of our alpha? Aren't you here for protection? Do you want to die for the disrespect? Sophia frowned at Beta Robert. Don't scold my brother. Your alpha is the one who has been deceiving my brother this whole time. He betrayed his own Gamma. He was giving him false hope and doing whatever he needed to gain power. Sophia's eyes were filled with rage. The hatred that she felt for Brian was plainly visible in her eyes. A furious expression appeared on Robert's face as he turned his head toward Brian. Are you going to listen to this shit? Don't you think you should say something? I have heard everything. You did not say a word to her. How can someone talk to their head alpha like this? Brian blinked his eyes as if he had just come back to reality. It was as though he had been lost in a maze. All this time he was observing only one thing, and that was how much that woman hated him. She was speaking like a wild beast. Her words were like arrows, piercing his heart one after another. He shifted his gaze to Abraham, who appeared angry at him. Abraham had never shown anger toward him. It was below the belt. Calm down, Gamma. Brian commanded with his alpha voice as his eyes turned red. Abraham clenched his teeth as he lowered his head. It was his wolf who submitted to his alpha. He had no control over it now. Go back to your home. I will speak with you later, Brian said, turning away. His eyes met Sophia's furious orbs. He parted his lips to say something, but then pursed them when he could not let out any words. Abraham grabbed Sophia's hand and left the hall. He was mad at himself. He had no idea why everything had turned out like this. He had been with Brian for a few years. He had never seen Brian with any other woman besides Mila. He used to think Brian was a loyal man to his fiancée. Where are you taking her? Victor's voice halted Abraham's steps when he was about to walk out of the party hall. They drew the attention of others at the party. Sophia slowly released her brother's grip on her hand and said, Brother, come down. Victor walked over to them. I asked you something. Where are you taking her? Abraham gave Victor a fierce look. Do I need to answer you? Of course, you have to, Victor replied, giving him a look. You are not my alpha, but she is my future Luna. You can't take her anywhere. Sophia glanced at Victor before turning to face her brother. Brother, you go ahead. I'm coming. Abraham averted his gaze from Victor and left the party hall. Sophia turned to Victor and saw his frowning expression. I am leaving right now. Victor grabbed her hand and pulled her close to him. You cannot leave now. Sophia was stunned by his response. With a glare in his direction, she yanked her hand away from him. What you did today went beyond my expectations. I would have talked to you right now, but I have to go see my brother. That is not what you will decide. Sophia was dumbfounded. She went closer to him and muttered, Don't try to mess with me. What did you think? Your Luna's announcement will make me happy, and I will submit to you? His eyes became still as he murmured, I was only teasing you. You can go with your brother. I don't know what's wrong with you. Why can't you just tell her what her boundaries are? She always speaks to you disrespectfully. Beta Robert's irate voice echoed throughout the study room. He was in Brian's home study with the other 2 officials to have a conversation with Brian. The moment Sophia left the party, they did not continue to stay there any longer, and they left as well. Brian's family and Mila's parents tried to stop Brian, but he did not even remain there for 10 minutes. Mila requested that he at least wait for the dinner, but he did not listen to her. If you will allow it, let me speak with Sophia. I will make her understand that what she is doing is not right. The past is past, and she should move on. Revenge is not a way, Delta Edger said. Theta Noble nodded his head in agreement. However, their alpha was silent. In fact, he fell silent as soon as Sophia left his sight. "Are you going to speak or not?" Robert asked with a frustrating tone. He had a long night tonight. He was terrified because of the man sitting on the couch in front of him. He was afraid that he would lose control. His fear was that Brian would attack Victor after the conversation he had with Sophia and Abraham. However, to his surprise, Brian was calm all the way. He did not even glance at Victor and left the party hall with a blank face. Suddenly, someone flung the door open in the study room. "Brother." It was Bruce. He looked really mad. Robert rubbed his forehead. He glanced at Theta Noble and muttered, "Didn't I tell you to stop him from going to the party?" "I tried. I believe his friends informed him about what happened at the party," Theta Noble replied. Meanwhile, Brian was listening to everyone in silence. He ignored his officials' gazes and focused on Bruce. He spoke for the first time since returning home. "What?" Bruce walked inside and replied, "What am I hearing? Sophia is going to marry Alpha Victor? How is that even possible?" With a clam face, Brian replied, "You heard right. She is the soon-to-be Luna of the Moon Valley Pack." Bruce's eyes widened. He shook his head with a disgusted face. "How could you allow all of this to happen?" Brian raised a brow and asked, "Now, what do you want me to do?" Bruce was about to say something, but then he paused. He looked into his brother's eyes and then let out a chuckle. "I also heard about what you did at the party, brother. I heard how you reacted." After diverting his attention away from Bruce, Brian reached out and grabbed the packet of cigarettes that was sitting on the tea table in front of him. He lit a cigarette and inhaled the smoke. "I have a history with that man. I don't like him. That's why I wanted to stop it. But it looks like both of them want this marriage." Bruce smirked at his big brother. "Brother, I had to sacrifice my love for you. Now the karma is returning to you. I know you don't want to share her with anyone. You want to keep her for yourself. But you can't stop the wedding now. Everything has already been announced." Brain's fingers around the cigarette froze and his eyes darkened. He glared at his brother. "Just because of Mom and Dad, I am letting you go today. Don't dare speak to me in that way ever again." His deep voice shook everyone in the study room. He had gotten back to himself. Bruce dropped his head and clenched his jaw. He was mad at his brother. He did not let him get close to Sophia, but now he had to give her up to another alpha. He turned around and stormed out of the study room in fury. Brian turned his gaze at Theta Noble and said, "Go and see if he does anything stupid." "Yes, Alpha." Theta Noble exited the study room and followed Bruce. After a long silence, Delta Edger spoke up. "Brian." After brushing the ash from the smoke onto the ashtray, Brian turned his attention to them. Taking a deep breath, Delta Edger uttered, "Your silence is killing us, bro." Beta Robert shook his head and muttered, "Why can't you just accept it already? How long will you behave like this?" Brian ignored his remarks and looked away from them. He got up from the couch and walked to the window beside the couch. He stood near the window. It brought back memories of the time when he followed Sophia and saw her standing close to the window earlier tonight. He could not put her out of his mind. His friends stared at his back for a while. They were at a loss for words with him. Still, they tried to talk to him. "Everything is messed up, Brian. Victo." Brian interrupted Edger, saying, "I don't want to remind him of the past. For that one incident, I went calm and changed myself over the years. But if he keeps pushing my boundaries, I'm not sure how long I will be able to control myself." Robert and Edger exchanged a glance. Edger walked towards Brian and said, "We don't know what to say." Robert shook his head and asked Brian, "Why can't you just clarify to us what you want? It is heating up. As your beta, I am not sure what to do. That man is just getting on my nerves." "What will we do to Sophia?" Edger asked carefully. Brian frowned as he gazed at Edger. The two men were nervous. Robert approached Brian and said, "You never let your own brother escape your punishment. But today, you let go of Abraham just because of Sophia. How long will you tolerate her disrespecting you? Should we teach her a lesson and burst the bubble she lives in?" Brian turned around to look outside the window. The forest view and the long trees caught his attention. He could not help but scoff in his mind. Disrespectful? She even dared to slap him a year ago, and he did not hurt her. In fact, he had rushed to save her from the orphanage in a single call. He let out a sigh and muttered, "She may be naive, but she is mine. No one is allowed to hurt my woman." "Your woman? Brian, she is your mate, but she is not behaving like your woman anymore," Robert said as he walked to the couch. He took a seat and lit a cigarette, concerned about everything that appeared to be slipping through their fingers. It was not only about their lives, but also the future of the Nightshade pack. He offered Delta a cigarette. Edgar shook his head in denial. Edgar glanced at Brian one last time, who was busy looking outside. "I'm leaving," Edgar said and left. So it was only Robert and Brian in the study room. While smoking, Robert stared at his best friend. For him, Brian was not only his alpha, but also a man whom he could admire his whole life. Since he and Edgar had been Brian's friends since childhood, they had known each other for a very long time. Robert had been observing everything for years. He only witnessed Brian change himself once, and that was a few years ago. That time was a very difficult time for the Nightshade pack, and even Alpha Harry was worried as hell. Brian Morrison, on the other hand, was a young blood who sorted out every mess he had made. He not only saved himself, but the whole pack. Even though the years had passed, the memories remained ingrained in each and every one of their minds. As a recollection of the past came to his mind, he let out a long, deep puff. It was the time when Brian was not even their alpha's leader. He was a young man known for his aggressive nature. He was not as calm as he preferred to be right now. He always had a smirk on his face and enjoyed living the life he desired. There was no concern for the pack or his future, despite the fact that he knew he was the alpha for whom his pack had been waiting for many years. That was the real Alpha Brian, whom everyone was terrified of. Only a few people could encounter that man, and most of them did not survive after that. Fighters of the Nightshade pack were only able to catch a glimpse of that face during the time of the war. Robert lowered his head as he did not want to remember that man anymore. His best friend had transformed into a very calm man who was responsible for his pack. This man knew how to handle every situation, no matter if it was in the cruelest way. "You know you have feelings for her. How long will you resist it, Brian?" Robert asked out of nowhere. Brian's brows knitted in response to his question. He crashed the cigarette butt against the window frame and muttered under his breath, "Don't be delusional." Robert let out a sigh of defeat, knowing he had no choice but to confront Brian about it. "That night in your office, you said there was no other reason, but I know the reason. Why don't you just accept what you are feeling? How much longer will you deceive yourself?" Brian's calm face darkened as he turned to face his beta, but Robert did not shut his mouth and said, "You can stop others from giving that look, but I am your best friend. I know you more than anyone else." Brian did not move his eyes away from him, but his look was enough to indicate that he did not want to talk about it. Robert stood up and continued, "Brian, deceiving yourself can be the only reason for defeat in a war. It was your words from a few years ago. Why are you taking a step back from your own words?" Robert kept pushing him to understand his feelings. He wanted to tell him that what he was doing was not because of the meta bond, but because of the feelings he had for Sophia. He had noticed a change in him since Sophia entered his life. She was the only woman who could move his best friend's heart, making him realize that he also had a heart. "Go back to the pack house. I don't have time to discuss this nonsense." After saying that, Brian walked toward the door to leave the study room. Robert dashed to stop him as he grabbed the doorknob. Brian scowled at him. "Now what?" "I didn't get your answer, buddy. I think you forgot your position, Beta. You can't push me by saying these things. I want to know how long you will behave like this. At least for once, listen to your heart. I know nothing will change, but you can take a breath of relief after accepting it." Brian turned away from him and shook his head. "You are misunderstanding my actions. I am giving her all the facilities because she is my mate." Robert scoffed upon hearing him. "Is that so? Then why didn't you kill her when you found out she was your mate? You had the opportunity to change everything on her 18th birthday, the night you learned about it. Killing was not a big deal for you, was it?" Brian froze when he heard Robert's words. Robert grabbed his arm and turned him around to face him. Bro, why are you lying to yourself? Or you are just lying to us that you don't love? No, I don't. Brian yelled at Robert as he yanked his arm in anger. His eyes turned red in rage as he glared at his best friend. I don't love her. I can't love her. I can't love anyone. I can't make anyone my weakness, and you know that. Robert smiled at him, seemingly relieved. You already know you love her. I said I don't. You love her, and that's why you wanted her as your mistress, so that you wouldn't have to leave her. If not, why did you approach her? There are so many women dying to be your mistress. But you love her, which is why you continue to let her make mistakes and never express your feelings to her. Brian clenched his fists as he replied to Robert. Yes, you are right. I love her, but I hurt her so badly that she does not want to be with me anymore. Sophia was lying on the bed, thinking about the conversation she had with her brother. On the way home, Abraham told her that he would step down from his position. She tried her best to make him understand that it was not his fault. He said he could not continue to stick with the man who wanted to use his sister's body instead of giving her a name of respect. Sophia rubbed her forehead as she stared at the ceiling. I think I shouldn't have said those things to my brother. If he resigned from his position, it would be entirely my fault. I made a huge mistake. What will we say to Mom? She shifted left and right on the bed to fall asleep. However, she was unable to sleep and had her eyes wide open. She remembered what had happened tonight. Everything had changed within a few hours. Why did Victor declare something like that? I will tell him to take back his words. She recalled telling Brian that she was going to marry Victor. She sat up on the bed and shook her head in disbelief. How could I say that? I don't want to be with anyone. Victory is no exception. However, Sophia was so relaxed that she could at least shake Brian a little. He was helpless in this situation. She could show him how much she despised him. The next day, Sophia had talked to her friends, who were worried about her. They asked if she was really going to marry Victor. Like last night, she did not have any answers. Sophia went to the orphanage around noon. Victor had called her a few times. She told him she would meet him in the evening because she was at the orphanage. Victor said he would pick her up from the orphanage. Don't hit me like this. I am innocent. Ken let out a low yell when Sophia landed a punch on his muscle. I am really mad right now. Take some blows to relieve my stress, Sophia replied, chuckling. Ken gave her a disbelieving expression. You are acting like you are my teacher, and I am your student. Don't speak. Fight me. Ken let out a sigh and began to set his mind to fighting. He attacked her, and she tried to dodge his blows. The fight heated up as Ken became more serious. At the end of the fight, Ken won. Sophia sat down on the ground with sweat all over her body. Ken huffed as he sat with her on the ground. He turned to face her and said, My girlfriend wants to meet you. Sophia frowned when she heard that. Why does she want to meet me? I always talk about you, so she became interested in meeting you. Sophia laughed in response. I bet you tell her all the time about how I beat you. He shook his head and replied, I tell her how a girl came to spread happiness in the orphanage and got trained by me. I have always tried to provide you with the best training sessions. You have the potential to fight against others. It's just that you need to learn to fight in your wolf form. She looked away from Ken and mumbled, I think I don't need that. Ken heard her and asked, Why? She shrugged her shoulders and rose to her feet. Because it's not like I will go to any war and wolves will attack me. I don't need to learn to fight in a war, but only self-defense. When Sophia left the orphanage after taking a shower and changing her clothes, she noticed a car waiting for her outside. Victor rolled down the car window and signaled for her to enter the car. She got into the back seat and sat next to Victor. He was not driving today. He brought his driver with him. The driver started the car as soon as she climbed in. She turned to Victor and asked, Now tell me, why did you change your plan at the last moment? Everything was so fine. Why did you even take that action unnecessarily? Victor's brows furrowed as he spoke. Unnecessarily? I was serious when I announced that. She was stunned. Serious? Serious about what? How can you declare me your future Luna? Didn't you want the position? Who cares what pack you get? The position is still the same. I can assure you that the Moon Valley pack is the biggest pack for you to rule." Sophia stared at him with disappointment in her eyes. This man thought she was doing all those things for power. "Listen, Victor, I can't be your Luna." The driver almost pressed on the brake when he overheard her. Victor glared at the driver, which he noticed through the rearview mirror. The driver gulped and drove the car back to a steady speed. "Just cancel the announcement after going back to your pack. Tell your pack members that I am not good enough to be your Luna. People will not doubt this excuse." Victor chuckled as he shook his head. "You think ruling a pack is an easy game, right? Once the head of Alpha announces his future Luna, it is forbidden to remove her from that position. This law was added years ago to prevent Alphas from changing their Luna over time and giving other women false hope. Only their mates have the power to call off the marriage." "What nonsense." He looked at her and grinned. "It's true. Now you are obligated to be with me. Not even Alpha Brian can change your fate now. He will never come out as your mate, so there is no way to cancel the wedding." Sophia was shocked. If he was aware of this, why did he make the announcement in the first place? He should have asked her. It was not a game. It was about her whole life. Suddenly a question popped into her head as she questioned him. "What if your mate shows up to cancel it? You will not have any other way." His grin faded as his eyes turned cloudy. He turned away from her and replied, "That's not possible. I am mateless." He took a pause and turned to look at her once again. Then he said, "But I can mark you and claim you as mine." Sophia frowned at Victor. She believed he was lying to her. It was not possible to break the mate bond between Brian and her. She was mad at Victor. She had no idea how this man could make such a big decision in such a short amount of time. "Why are all of you alphas like this? Marriage is meaningless to you, right?" she asked. Victor looked at her for a moment before shifting his focus away from her. He turned to look out the window and remained quiet. Sophia did not appreciate his silence. She glanced at the driver and said, "Please drop me off at my house." Victor turned to her right away. "Why do you go to your house? We have just met." She ignored his stare and responded, "You have already messed everything up, Victor. I do not want to marry you. I am no longer interested in any alphas. I am done with all of you." Victor reached out his hand and touched hers. She quickly moved her hand. "What are you doing?" When he noticed her reaction, he moved in closer. She backed up, almost touching the door with her back. "Victor, what?" His closeness caused her to pause. She blinked at him as he gazed at her. "I have never devoted so much time to a woman. I declared you to be my Luna. I know it surprises you, but I like you, and now you cannot stop me from marrying you." Her lips parted in shock. "Did you just say you like me?" He did not respond, as if he did not have to. He had already answered the question before she asked it. Sophia was astounded by his words and became confused. "You can't like me. We only met a few times. How can you claim that?" He moved closer to her, leaning in with his head down. "I do. Whether you believe it or not, the choice is yours." She stared at him, unable to find words to say. For what reason did he say he liked her? Wasn't he with her to take revenge on Brian? But again, if he had wanted, he could have stopped everything that Brian was doing. Then why did he choose to approach her in the first place? Her breath almost caught in her throat when she felt his nose brush against her cheek. She immediately pushed on his chest when it reminded her of Brian's touch from last night. Her push caused Victor to move back. He was not surprised, as if he had expected it. "How long will you stay away from me, darling?" "Next month is our wedding." "I haven't fixed the date yet. The next month is almost here. Just 2 days remain. Maybe you will not even get the whole month in your hands for the wedding." Reality hit Sophia really hard. She came to the realization that she would have to wed this man regardless of the circumstances. He had just managed to trap her. She shook her head. "I won't marry you." A sly grin appeared on his face as he muttered, "Do you want to try to run away from me? I came so far away from my pack just for you." Her eyes widened. For her? She did not know what was going on or how everything was getting out of her hands. She just wanted to teach Brian a lesson and hurt him by breaking his arrogance. But why was her confidence getting lowered by the man sitting next to her? "I don't even know you, Alpha Victor," she said with a cold tone. He shrugged his shoulders and took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. Sophia saw him lighting a cigarette. She noticed that he held the cigarette differently than Brian. The smoke he was exhaling reminded her of Brian. She turned away from Victor, tightening her fists. Everything made her think of Alpha Brian. She rubbed her forehead in stress as her eyes fell on the landscape outside. After a few minutes, she heard Victor's voice. "You can get to know me. What's a big deal here?" She turned her head to face him. He was smoking calmly, not looking at her. "Know you? How? Forcing myself to like you even if I don't?" He turned and glared at her. "Why are you constantly saying you don't like me? What does he possess that I lack?" She felt uneasy under his stare. He had never given her that stern look before. It was like he was a different man, the man she caught a glimpse of at the party last night. "Who says I still like him? I hate him the most." "Really?" "Yeah." After hearing her reply, he looked into her eyes as if trying to find any glint of fondness for Brian. His eyebrow shot up as he mocked her. "You are still weak. As far as I know, you don't even know who he is." She was not expecting this. "What do you mean?" She did not know Brian yet? How did she not know him? He was an arrogant and power-hungry man who could give up his mate for another throne. Was there anything else she should know? Victor's eyes turned red, which took her aback. He muttered in an angry tone, "You are lucky you have not seen his true face yet. He is evil." She let out a sigh, not believing either of the two alphas. "He told me the same thing about you. Now I'm not sure who to believe anymore." He frowned at her and asked, "Don't you think I'm more trustworthy than him? At the very least, I never treated you disrespectfully. You will be the Luna of a pack. What more do you want?" She shook her head in denial. "I never wanted this position, but since my mate is an alpha, I was surprised that he was giving the position of his wife to someone else instead of me. Who wants to be the second woman in her man's life, serving as his mistress? That is something only a greedy woman would want." "I am not that greedy, Alpha Victor." Victor took a deep puff and blew it out of his mouth. The smoke was flying out of the half-opened window next to him. As if he were deeply contemplating something, he hummed and said, "You must intensify your hate for him to be with me. Let me give you another reason to hate him more." After saying that, he turned to her and said, "You don't know what his plan was after marrying Mila. He planned to mark Mila after the wedding." "What?" She could not believe that. Brian planned to mark Mila? Was this his plan? And here he was, preventing her from getting with another man? He smirked as he observed her reaction. He nodded his head and replied, "Yes, there is a rule that you can't reject, but if you can find a loophole, then there's no rule to accept. He can simply mark someone else, disregarding the deadly impact on his Omega mate's life, and move on without revealing to anyone that you were his mate." Sophia got another blow in her heart when she learned about Brian's plan. Victor was right. She now had another reason to hate Brian more. It was extremely difficult for her to get that man out of her heart. He only changed her feelings toward him from love to hatred, but he was still there, which she detested the most. The rage that was bubbling inside her was almost beyond control. She did not tell Victor anything and just told him to drop close to the forest instead of her house. Though Victor wanted to be with her, she told him she would talk to him about their wedding tomorrow. She ran in the forest for a very long time. She was hurt once again, but the pain made her stronger. The rage inside her caused her pure ocean blue eyes to darken in color. She realized it was giving her more strength than before. That night, she made a big decision in her life. She chose to give Victor a chance and move forward in her life. She wanted to kill Brian as his rival's Luna in a war, just like he had planned to kill her after his wedding with Mila. Marking another woman meant nearly killing your mate. He really wanted her to die. She realized how stupid she was. How could a woman become a Luna unless her alpha marked her? Of course, he had planned to mark Mila. Why did she not think of it before? Brian kept everything hidden from her brother because he knew he could fool her, but not others. The next few days, the Nightshade pack was in chaos because Alpha Victor roamed around with his future Luna every single day. People who recognized Alpha Victor were shocked by how he treated Sophia. They thought it was a miracle that he was with only one woman, and even declared her his future wife. Sophia had become the center of attention in every place. At her university, everyone always tried to talk to her, asking how she captured Alpha Victor's heart. She ignored everyone, giving them a grin. She now tried to accept that Victor was the only man she could put her trust in. Victor asked her to accompany him on a visit to his pack before the wedding. She told him that she would talk about it with her mother. Sophia's mother, Hannah Berge, was very unhappy with the wedding. She became more ill after hearing the announcement. She asked Sophia to call Victor at their house so that she could beg him to let her go. Sophia, on the other hand, was shocked to hear that, but she told her mother that she wanted to be with Victor. Her mother had also spoken with Abraham about it, but Abraham was powerless in this matter, so he told his mother that there was no way to cancel the wedding. Abraham was not pleased with Victor either, but after a day at the party, Brian summoned him to his office and told him that he should not have asked Sophia to be his mistress. However, he stated that he could not cancel his wedding with Mila because it was fixed many years ago. Abraham decided not to make any more decisions for Sophia. He believed it was her life, and he would not interfere again. That day, Abraham informed Brian that he would resign from his position, but Brian told him that he would not accept another man as the gamma of his pack and advised him to keep his personal life separate from the pack's future. Abraham realized that Brian was only a good alpha leader for a pack, not a good man for a woman. He did not abandon his position for the sake of the pack. In a grand hotel, Victor and Sophia were sitting in a meeting room. "We will soon set the wedding date," Victor said. Victor had a meeting there and asked her to join him. "Good," Sophia replied without any emotion as her eyes wandered around the place. She saw a group of men approaching them. Her brow furrowed as her gaze fell on a familiar man. She seemed to have seen this man somewhere, but she could not remember where. When the group of men approached, they bowed to Victor and took their seats. "I see your Luna is also here," a middle-aged man said, chuckling. Victor glanced at Sophia and said, "She is here to assist his Alpha." "Such a lovely couple! Who expected Alpha Victor to commit to a woman so soon?" Another man said. Sophia looked at each of them with a calm look. She could not identify any of them until Victor said, "They are a few pillars of the Nightshade pack." Sophia froze in her seat. She gave Victor a puzzled look. "Pillars of this pack?" "Yes," Victor answered with a sly grin. "They are willing to betray their Alpha, darling. Isn't it amazing? They are making our work easier." Sophia raised her eyebrows and turned to face the men. "You are ready to betray Alpha Brian? What guarantee is there that you will not betray us?" Those men were shocked by her question. They looked at each other, unsure of how to respond to the question. Victor laughed as he said, "My Luna is really intelligent. There is a reason she got such high grades. Now, answer her question before I get bored and kill you all." Those men gulped as they noticed that Alpha Victor was enjoying it. Their eyes were filled with fear that he would actually kill them. "You can rest assured, Alpha Victor," one of them said. Sophia realized there were no men in a pack who were loyal to their Alpha. She could not help but scoff in her mind. "You are so arrogant about your pack, Brian Morrison. Look at the pillars of your pack sitting in front of me, offering their hands to split it into pieces." After the meeting, Victor received a call from Beta Robert. Sophia cast a glance at Victor as he spoke with Robert. "All right, we will come." When he hung up, Sophia asked him, "What made Beta Robert give you a call?" He looked at her and replied with an impressed grin on his face. "Alpha Brian organized a family dinner in the pack house. He invited both of us to meet tomorrow night." Sophia looked at herself in the mirror. She wore a well-designed tunic that hung a few inches above her knees. Her beautiful legs were visible, giving her an attractive appearance. She let her hair down while curling it in the lower half. Her delicate makeup did not give her a cakey appearance, but rather a natural and pleasing one. Her pink lips looked soft and matte, almost Satan-like. However, one thing that did not match her look was her eyes. They were not bright but dull. If you looked closely, you could see there was no glint of happiness in them. She appeared to be strong, but she was actually broken on the inside. She did not want to mend her broken heart. Instead, She wanted to feel the pain, which reminded her of her hatred for the man who ended her life. She grabbed her bag and was about to get her phone, which was lying on the bed. Her phone began to ring, which caused her to think that it was her fiancé. Without looking at the contact number, she received the call. "Hello, Sophia." Ken's voice paused her as she was about to go get a pair of high heels. "Ken, Sophia, are you free today?" "No, I am going to the pack house." "Why? Is everything okay in the orphanage?" she asked with worry. "Everything is all right there. I was just asking for your time. It's been a few days since our last training session." She understood why he was asking for her time. It was because he wanted to introduce his girlfriend to her. The last few days were difficult for Sophia, so she could not go to the orphanage to meet the children or get training from Ken. "How is she?" "She is fine. If you are not willing to meet her, then—" "Of course I'm willing to meet her, Ken. She is your girlfriend. I will meet her tomorrow. Is it okay with you?" "Are you sure?" "Yeah." After talking with Ken, she put on heels and exited her room. Sophia realized she had also lost contact with her best friends. She could not get in touch with Sophia or Nolan much these days. However, she believed it was helping her adjust to the new lifestyle because she was leaving the pack soon. She had not talked to her mother about it yet. She was confused about whether she would take her mother with her to the Moon Valley pack after the wedding or not. She had a feeling her brother would disagree. But her mother was seriously ill, so if she went with her, she could take care of her. Sophia heard a deep voice as she made her way to the living room. "Why are you so upset? I won't eat your daughter alive." She took a slow step down as she noticed the man sitting on the couch, speaking to her mother. Victor came to pick her up from her home. Her mother lowered her head without letting out a single word. Sophia did not like it when her mother reacted like that toward Victor. Victor's eyes met Sophia's as he said, "She is going to be my Luna. Anyway, I have no choice but to take care of her." Sophia turned away from him and walked toward her mother. She hugged her and said, "Eat your dinner on time and remember to take your medication. I will come back after dinner." Her mother nodded her head. She did not look happy at all. Sophia was aware of this, but she had no other options at the time. She believed that marrying Victor would be the best option for her. Victor rose from the couch and extended his hand to Sophia. She accepted his hand and left her house. Victor's driver opened the door for them, and they got inside. When the driver started the car, Victor turned his head to Sophia and said, "You gotta be kidding me. Why are you dressed like this? To kill me?" Sophia looked at him. She frowned when he saw that his eyes were on her bare legs. She placed her bag on her legs and replied, "I thought it would look nice for dinner." He moved closer, which caught her off guard. These days, he always tried to get closer to her. But she always gave him stern looks to make him move away from her. "One day, you and your killer looks will make us end up in bed before the wedding," he whispered. Sophia rolled her eyes and mumbled, "That is all you want, ending up in bed." Victor gave a chuckle as he moved away. "Why so scared? I haven't touched you yet." She stared at him. He looked handsome in his expensive suit. However, there was something that always intrigued her, and that was his duality. He had the ability to change his personality whenever he wanted. Sophia had been trying to learn more about him and his pack over the last few days. Nobody could give her accurate information about him. Everyone said the same thing she had read about him. Because the two packs were rivals, they did not have many connections, and the pack members knew very little other than the rumors that circulated. It was as if she could not get to know him unless she went to his pack. "Women say I am good in bed, but then they can never get into bed with someone else," he muttered while looking outside the window. She was bewildered by his statement, but he liked to joke with her most of the time, so she did not take it too seriously. As the car entered the pack house area, Sophia took a deep breath. She did not have any pleasant memories of this pack house. Every time she came here, she was insulted. But she was no longer the Sophia who would accept their humiliations. She got out of the car and took a look around. When she noticed Victor getting out of the car, she began walking toward the pack house. As soon as she entered the pack house, she met Brian's mother, Juliana Morrison. As if she did not know Sophia was coming, she walked up to her and asked, "What are you doing here?" Sophia lifted her brows in response. But then they relaxed, and a smirk appeared on her lips. "Oh, Aunt Juliana, you must be very upset to see me here, right? But allow me to tell you something." She took a step closer and whispered something in her ear, causing Juliana to widen her eyes. "It would be better if you greeted me with respect, because the person in front of you is not your son's mate, but the future Luna of your rival pack." Sophia moved her head and took a step back to look at Juliana's face. She was satisfied with her stunned expression. Victor walked into the pack house right then. He paused when he saw Sophia standing near the door. He stood next to Sophia and wrapped his arm around her shoulder. "What happened, darling?" Sophia grinned as her eyes fixed on Juliana. Without moving her eyes from Juliana, she replied to Victor, "Nothing. It seems to me that Aunt Juliana is not pleased to see me. Is that so, Mrs. Morrison?" Juliana shifted her gaze to Victor. She frowned at him, but then shook her head. "No." Sophia laughed at Juliana's lie. She turned to look at Victor, and he gave her a sly grin, getting what she was trying to do. "Brother?" Mila's voice reached their ears. Mila moved to the side in a terrible mood. She was not at all happy to see Sophia again. She thought only Victor would come, but she did not expect Sophia to be here. She cast another angry glance at Sophia. "Why doesn't this woman leave my son's life?" she pondered in her head. Meanwhile, Sophia looked at Mila. She stood a long way from them. However, Mila was terrified while looking at Victor, causing Sophia to frown. But she composed herself. Victor walked inside the house along with Sophia. They made their way to Mila. Mila looked at Sophia before turning her gaze to Victor. He raised his hand and placed it on her head. "Oh, my little sister, how are you?" Mila flinched as she took a step backward. I am fine, brother." Sophia observed Mila's expressions. It bothered her as to why this woman looked so afraid. She did not act like that in front of Brian either. "Brother, please sit. Everyone is in Brian's office room. I'm going to inform them about your arrival," Mila said, gesturing to him on the couches. Victor gave her a big grin. "Office room? Did they intend to set any conditions? Is that why your fiancé called me here?" "Oh, that clever man." Mila turned around and proceeded to the stairs. Before going upstairs, she glanced at Juliana, who did not seem to be feeling well. "What did you do to her? Why does she look horrified in front of you?" Sophia asked Victor as they were heading to the couches in the large living room. Victor simply shrugged his shoulders. "Her dad is afraid of me. Who is she not to be afraid?" She sat down and gave him a poker face. "What?" he questioned. "When will you start to talk directly? I don't know what's going on in your mind because you always beat around the bush whenever I ask you something." Victor parted his lips to say something, but his gaze shifted behind her. He lifted his gaze upward and leaned closer to her. "What are yo?" Victor cut her off and touched her hair. "Darling, you look wonderful with your hair open. I just want to run my fingers through your hair all the time." She was baffled. She heard someone clearing their throat. She turned her head to see Alpha Lucas and Alpha Harry approaching the couches. Behind them, a man in a black suit descended the stairs with a cold expression. Sophia clenched her jaw when her wolf began to react. She shut her wolf inside and turned her gaze away from, then smiled at Victor without moving his hand. Alpha Harry and Lucas took seats on the couches. Victor looked at Harry and gave him a mock greeting. Alpha Harry is so busy with Alpha Lucas that he must have forgotten that Alpha Lucas is no longer the head alpha of the Moon Valley Pack. Alpha Harry did not mind Victor's words, as if he were prepared to listen to them. He answered in a calm tone, "I have not forgotten about it. Alpha Victor is too preoccupied to enter our house." Victor turned his head and said, "Oh, your son is here." Brian walked over to the couch and sat across from Sophia and Victor. Sophia cast a glance at him. She realized he was looking at her. However, his eyes appeared to be different to her. There was less darkness in them than other times. On the other hand, Mila came to sit next to Brian. Her mother followed her, as did Juliana's mother. "Where were you, Miss Laurent?" Victor asked Mila's mother. She gulped and responded, "In the kitchen with Juliana." Victor gave her a cold look which shook the woman. He turned to Sophia and asked, "Do you think she mixed poison into our food, Sophia shook her head. I don't know about her, but I doubt Aunt Juliana can do that. Actually, she doesn't like me very much. So I think. What are you saying? Why would I mix poison? You are making fake accusations against me now, Juliana said in a furious tone. Victor frowned at her. Slow down. You can't talk to my woman with this high pitch. Juliana tightened her fists and shut her mouth while glaring at Sophia. Sophia blinked a few times at Juliana with a sarcastic smile. This woman had slapped her in the past, but she let it go. She had attempted to humiliate her several times, but she also let it go. But she offered her a check and tried to buy her respect. She could not forget it. She remembered how she used to send seductive maids to her son's house to make Brian lose interest in her. But what about her son? He was much worse than his mother. Like mother, like son, Sophia thought in her head. Brian was silently observing everything. As everyone revealed their grudges against one another, he shifted his gaze away from Sophia and to Victor. I see. You accepted my invitation and came here. Victor turned his attention to Brian and replied, Don't underestimate my Luna. Since you invited her as well, she is with me here. I am pleased that Alpha Brian has accepted my decision. I can't wait to invite you to my wedding. Brian sneered at him and muttered, That time will tell. Victor scowled at Brian. Darkness crept into his eyes, indicating that he did not like what Brian had just said. Time? Of course, time will tell who gains what, Victor replied with a clear voice. Brian stared at him with a calm face, as if he did not mind his words, which made Victor mad at him. Alpha Lucas cleared his throat and spoke up. Victor, I got a call from our Gamma. Victor frowned when he heard his father. He turned his head to Alpha Lucas and asked, Why did he contact you instead of me? He is very sick. He is unable to continue in his current position. His family was begging me to talk to you. And why are you being so sympathetic to him? His father was my Gamma. I can't see him begging for his son's life like that. Victor rolled his eyes as if he were not impressed by his words. Look who's talking. The man who does not care about his own son is now concerned about other people's sons. Sophia looked at Victor. For the first time, she felt sorry for him. She wondered if what Victor had told her about his father was correct. She suspected that after marrying Mila's mother, Alpha Lucas had treated Victor really badly when he was a child. She reached up and put her hand on Victor's shoulder. He turned his head and glanced at her hand, then met her gaze. In response, she smiled briefly. On the other hand, Brian shifted his gaze from Victor to Sophia's hand, which she placed on that man's shoulder. It was getting harder for him to remain composed. His heart was pierced by the smile she was flashing at another man. How long is Alpha Victor going to stay in my pack? Doesn't he have his own pack to rule? Perhaps he is a lazy alpha who is only busy with something else rather than thinking about his pack members. Brian's words caused both Sophia and Victor to turn to him. Brian did not look at Sophia. Instead, he focused on Victor. Sophia removed her hand from Victor and placed it on her lap. Victor raised a brow at Brian and asked, What is your hurry, Alpha Brian? It's not like I am banned in this pack, like how you are banned in the Moon Valley pack. Sophia froze when she heard Victor. Her brows furrowed as she looked at Victor. What? Victor let out a chuckle. Oh, yeah. You may not be aware of it, but your head alpha, Alpha Brian, the greatest alpha of all time, is banned from the Moon Valley pack. There is a law there that says if he crosses the border, he will be killed immediately. Victor seized every opportunity to mock Brian with his words. But what caught Sophia's attention was the law in the Moon Valley pack. Why is that? She asked with confusion. Mila's voice rang out as a warning. You are asking too much. You don't need to know. Victor looked at Mila, which interrupted her. Sophia looked at Mila, who looked at Victor with a nervous face. When Sophia glanced at the other people sitting on the couch silently, she noticed they also looked nervous. She wondered what had happened that caused Brian to be banished from Mila's pack and why they all looked terrified like that. Mila blinked her eyes nervously and shook her head at Victor. Brother, let's not talk about it. Victor's eyes grew darker as he looked at her. His gaze shifted to everyone in the living room. Sophia could not deny that Victor looked scary at that moment. It was as if he was ready to kill everyone there until his eyes came to a halt at Brian, and his eyes flashed red for a moment. Every pack's alpha wants you to visit their pack at least once during their rule. But I am curious why you were banned from the Moon Valley pack, Alpha Brian, Victor remarked sarcastically. Brian did not speak as his eyes were digging into Victor. He could not remain calm as his eyes turned cold. The look in his eyes could kill anyone. Mila gulped as she grasped Brian's hand. Brian, please let it go for tonight. Brian did not respond to Mila, nor did he turn to look at her. When everyone thought Brian would burst out in anger, he surprised everyone by letting out a chuckle. His laugh was so dark that it shook everyone in the room. Shaking his head, he answered Victor, I see that you have forgotten everything and moved on. It's a really good thing for you. But why do you wonder why I got banned from your pack? Do you want me to remind you again? Victor clenched his jaw as his fists tightened in anger. Rage was clearly visible in his eyes. Sophia did not understand what was going on between the two alphas. It bothered her that she had no idea what they were talking about. She noticed Victor move as if he were about to stand up and attack Brian. She quickly grabbed his arm and rubbed it gently. Victor, calm down, she whispered. Victor's hand was shaking in anger, which she could feel while holding it. She did not know how to make that man relax. She did not want to get into any fights right there. She looked at the elder, who looked good for nothing to her. Why did they not intervene when they noticed the young people were fighting verbally? That was something they should have done. We came here for dinner. Hope we can do that peacefully, Sophia said to others and looked at Brian. Brian watched how she was calming Victor. He did not like that at all. At that time, Brian's officials entered the pack house. They made their way towards Brian. Beta Robert glanced at Victor, then told Brian, Alpha, we completed the paperwork. You need to sign and seal it once the other party signs. When Victor heard that, he scoffed. I had a feeling that something was up. Otherwise, why would Alpha Brian call me here for dinner? Brian grabbed the file that his officials handed him and read it. After finishing the file, he looked at Victor and said, As the head alpha of her pack, I set a condition for her marriage. Sophia was stunned when she heard Brian mention a condition. Condition? What condition? She asked with confusion. She turned to face her brother Abraham, who was also present along with the other officials. He did not look mad, upset, or angry. He looked indifferent, as if he did not care. She remembered her brother apologizing to her, saying that he had done the wrong thing by preventing her from living her life. He was clearly unhappy with the marriage, but he also stated that he would not stop her. He would give her the freedom to choose her own path. I already knew it. Didn't I say he called me here for a business plan? Terms and conditions are what Alpha Brian is made of, Victor said, laughing. Brian looked at his officials. Theta Nobel gave a nod and turned to Alpha Victor. It is not a business plan, but rather a personal condition. What personal condition? Victor asked with a frown. Delta Edger cast a glance at Sophia, who looked puzzled. He moved his gaze to Victor and said, You can't marry her forcefully. Everyone was taken aback because they were unaware of the condition. They gave it some thought, wondering if Victor was really forcing Sophia to marry him. But didn't she look happy with the decision? Then why did Brian set such a condition? Sophia looked at her brother and said, Brother, you know I agreed to this decision. Then why the condition? Abraham responded calmly, We never know. Maybe you are lying to us because he is forcing you. He is our rival Alpha, and we can't trust your life with him. But if you yourself want to marry him, then we have no say there. Do you think your sister is unwilling to marry me? Victor asked, glaring at Abraham. Abraham shrugged his shoulders and asked, Why are you even opposing the condition? Didn't you claim you like her and she likes you too at the party? Brian leaned his back against the couch and muttered, Perhaps he is afraid that despite the announcement she will not marry him or will flee. Sophia frowned at Brian and said with a cold tone, I will marry him. He is not forcing me. It is entirely my decision. And yes, I do like him, so there is no way I would back out of the marriage. Brian raised a brow and asked, Is that so? Then tell your fiancé to sign. He doesn't look confident in you. Maybe he doesn't trust you. Is it called the likeness you mentioned that night? Sophia tightened her fists and stared at Brian angrily. She wondered what he wanted. She inhaled deeply before turning to face Victor. I don't know if you can trust Mem. I'll sign it, Victor said, looking into her eyes. She was surprised. Did he believe her so much that he was ready to sign a contract even after the announcement? Victor looked at Brian and said to Sophia, He believes you are so weak that anyone can shake you from marrying a powerful alpha, but he is unaware of your strength. Sophia cast a chilly glance in Brian's direction. Victor is right. This man thinks I am weak. He is still trying to stop the wedding. How much more will I hate this man? She thought. Brian stared at Victor for a while without letting out a single word, as if he did not expect him to be ready to sign the contract. What happened, Alpha Brian? Did you think a contract could stop me from marrying her? Did you expect me to fight over a silly condition? Even if you had included a condition about giving up a few properties, I would have been willing to sign it for her. You don't know me yet, but I know you very well. Sophia was moved deeply by Victor's words. Brian never gave her this kind of value. In fact, he had sacrificed his mate bond for the throne. Brian gritted his teeth and warned him. Think about it again, Victor. Victor laughed at seeing how Brian got mad when his plan did not work. Victor motioned for Robert to give him the file. He did not want to sign such a contract. However, he held the belief that Brian could not stop the wedding, as he would not reveal himself as Sophia's mate, and there was no chance Sophia would later disagree. Sophia was ready to be his Luna, and he was sure about it. She would never be able to get over her hatred for Brian. Robert handed the file to Victor. When Victor opened the file, he read the condition. No consequences? He asked as he lifted his gaze from the file and looked at Brian. There will be no consequences, Robert replied on behalf of Brian. Victor gave him a derisive look. Reaching for the pen Robert had offered, he was about to sign it when Sophia caught his hand and pulled him away. She looked at Brian and said, We have already announced our wedding. We don't need to sign to prove anything to anyone. Why did you set this condition? What is it? A love test. Victor turned to her and whispered, If I don't sign it, I can't break his ego. He thinks you still love him. His voice was so low that only she could hear it. She let go of Victor's hand slowly. She stopped loving Brian a year ago. Now she only hated him. Sophia Berge, that's not my condition. That's your brother's condition, who is also my gamma. I am merely granting his request. Nothing else. If you don't want it, tell your brother, not me, Brian replied to her coldly. Victor smirked at Brian. Of course, this has nothing to do with you, because you don't want me to sign it, do you? Isn't it useless? Sophia and I, we both want each other. Abraham glanced at his sister and said to her, I won't stop you from doing anything, but as a brother, I have some responsibility. If a man expresses a desire to marry you, I want to make sure he truly wants you by heart. If he really likes you, he will sign it. After reviewing the agreement, Victor signed it. He tossed the file on the coffee table in front of Brian. Then he shifted his gaze to Abraham. I like your sister, and here is proof. No more discussion today, but since you all made me sign a condition, I made another decision. I hope none of you mind. Even if you mind, I don't care. He wrapped his arm around Sophia and turned his attention back to Brian. I am going to marry her in 2 weeks. Our wedding ceremony will be on the second Friday of next month. Second week? It is too early to prepare everything, Brian's mother, Juliana Morrison, stated. Others in the living room agreed with her and nodded their heads, except Brian Morrison. He was staring at Victor. His eyes reflected rage. Victor was also looking at him. The smirk on his lips was broad. With a sly grin, he showed Brian, who was defeated. Brian had no way to stop this wedding. Victor turned to Sophia and moved his hand to stroke her hair. Are you happy with my decision? I hope you do not mind if it is the second or last week, as the wedding is next month. Sophia shook her head in response. She had no problem with anything now. She was ready to marry Victor. However, she was upset because she had to leave this pack. This was where she lived her whole life. Her family was here. She felt bad because if Abraham did not agree, she would have to leave her mother here. Her brother was the gamma of this pack, so he might not be allowed to visit the Moon Valley pack either. Did she choose the right thing to take a step toward Victor in order to destroy a man? She would have to abandon her family for this one vengeance. She glanced at Brian, and the rage inside her heart was fueled. She could not take any more steps back. She moved far away from the stage. There was no way she would leave him to hang her as his mate forever and let him live happily with his soon-to-be wife. "I am happy," she replied with a smile. Even though the smile was phony, she did her best not to show it. Mila's mother, Bethany Laurent, glanced at Alpha Lucas and signaled him with her eyes toward Brian. She wanted to set her daughter's wedding date as well. Alpha Lucas shook his head in denial. When others were busy adjusting to the new discussion, Bethany leaned close to him. "Lucas, talk to Alpha Brian about Mila and his wedding. Let's set the date now." He mentioned the timing of Victor's decision at the party, didn't he? Lucas gripped her hand and patted it. "Calm down, Bethany. We can't do anything in a hurry. Have you forgotten who he is? He is Brian, not Victor, so we can't talk and make a decision like that." Bethany wrinkled her brow. How long would her daughter have to wait for the wedding? It had been years since Mila's marriage was fixed with Brian. Every time they tried to speak with Brian, they had to leave empty-handed because he was not someone they could approach easily. "Push your fear aside and speak with him right now, Lucas. It's about our daughter's life." Bethany was a little too loud to be heard close to the people around her, so Juliana overheard her. "Let me talk to him after dinner," Alpha Lucas said with an assuring tone. Bethany took a quick glance at Brian before shifting her attention to Mila. Mila looked stunned as she stared at Sophia. She was not pleased with the wedding date. As if she were angry, she stood up from the couch and said to Sophia, "You can't marry him." Everyone was shocked. They turned their attention to Mila. Sophia raised her eyebrows. "Why can't I?" "No, you can't." "Did you say something, little sister?" Victor let out his cold voice. As if Mila realized what she was doing, she immediately looked at Victor with wide eyes. "She doesn't deserve you." Victor shot her a cold look. Bethany got up quickly and went to Mila. She grasped Mila's hand and muttered, "What are you doing? Have you completely lost your mind? Or do you want us to get killed in that man's hands?" "But Mom..." "Shut up." Mila looked at Brian's mother, who shook her head as if signaling not to speak. Sophia noticed that Mila was unhappy with her marriage to Victor. She did not like how she insulted her again. "Well, you are very deserving of Alpha Brian. However, I am wondering, after all of your capabilities, why Alpha Lucas has to give up his half-pack to your soon-to-be husband." Mila glared at her upon hearing that. Victor let out a chuckle as if he were impressed by her words. "Sophia, nobody wants us to tie the knot, but still, we will be together in the future. Maybe we will meet them in a war." Sophia nodded in agreement and gave Mila a glare in return. Brian and his officials remained silent as they observed what was going on around them. They had no say in this. Victor glanced at them and understood that their plan had failed. He stood up and reached out his hand to Sophia. "I think we should leave now." As soon as Sophia held his hand, Brian got up from the couch and said, "Where are you both going? I summoned you for dinner. Let's have dinner together." After saying that, he began walking toward the dining room. Victor raised an eyebrow. "Are you really in the mood for dinner? I thought you had lost your appetite." Brian paused in his step and turned to face him. "Since I invited you to my house, I cannot let you leave with an empty mouth, can I?" Sophia did not want to eat dinner here anymore, so she tugged on Victor, saying, "Let's leave already." Victor shook his head. "No, let's have dinner." He pulled her along with him as he made his way to the dining room. Sophia felt annoyed. She did not like how Victor had begun to act dominantly. But he was a head alpha, and right now she could not say anything to him. She let out a sigh and went with him. He pulled out a chair for her, which was a nice gesture. She sat down and he took a seat next to her. As Brian took the head chair at the table, all the maids hurriedly served the dinner on the table. It was more than just dinner. It was a feast. There were a variety of foods on the table, but no one was in the mood to eat except for Victor. Mila took a seat close to Brian. Her eyes were focused on Sophia. "How time changes everything. The last time I saw you in this house, you used to call Brian big brother-in-law," Mila mocked Sophia. Sophia froze as she heard that. Victor noticed it and said sarcastically, "It's okay. I am a few months younger than him. You can still call him that." Sophia was taken aback. She looked at Victor before shifting her gaze to Brian, whose expression had changed slightly. A grin spread across her face. "I don't mind calling him that. He should not be bothered about it either." She then asked Brian with a mocking tone, "Am I right, big brother-in-law?" As Brian did not respond, there was complete silence in the dining room. However, his expression changed as he lifted his gaze from the plate and fixed his eyes on Sophia. He was trying to calm himself, at least till the dinner ended, but Sophia seemed to join hands with Victor to mock him. He set the spoon on the plate and leaned back in his chair. "I remember you are no longer with my younger brother Bruce and this guy." He shifted his gaze to Victor, who continued eating with a satisfied look, and said, "He can't be my brother, so." Sophia caught Brian's mocking tone as if he were giving it back to her and Victor. She scoffed at him in front of everyone, which shocked the four elders seated at the table. Sophia continued to eat before saying, "It looks like big brother-in-law doesn't like it when I call him that, but I will still call him that." Victor patted her hand gently and asked, "Do you know something interesting?" "What?" she asked. "He's going to marry Mila, and you are going to be my wife. So even if he doesn't want to, you are allowed to call him that." Both Sophia and Victor chuckled together. Brian's officials were also seated at the table. They kept glancing at their alpha. Abraham looked at his sister as if he were thinking about something. He was lost, trying to find a way to save his sister from the conspiracy around her. He was unhappy with her marriage to Victor, but since Victor had agreed to the contract, it was clear that he wanted his sister to be his Luna. What could a brother want more of? He just wanted his sister to be happy with a responsible man. He was curious whether Victor could do it. Alpha Harry Morrison had been observing everything all these times. He could not understand why Brian called Victor here and offered a contract with a nonsense condition. It was a baseless contract until Victor rejected it and denied the marriage. What was the point of imposing such a condition when two people agreed to marry each other? Brian's calm demeanor in front of Victor surprised him. In fact, he even told him to have dinner with him. His gaze shifted slowly to the young woman who had just spoken boldly with his son. No one had ever dared to do that. He had a negative impression of Sophia from the moment they discovered she was Brian's mate. It was shocking that Brian was letting her do that. Otherwise, even old alphas were afraid to talk like that to his son. Victor was an exception, as he had a different story with Brian, so no one could include him in the count. However, who was Sophia to mess up everything in his son's life? "Where is your other son, Alpha Harry?" Victor spoke out. Harry heard Victor's question and glanced at Brian. Bruce did not attend the party and was not present at the family dinner. He suspected Brian was behind it. "He's a little busy." "Busy in what?" "He is going to join business very soon." Victor nodded his head, then asked Sophia, "I just missed meeting your ex-boyfriend." Sophia shrugged her shoulders in a careless manner and said loudly, "So what? You can look at big brother-in-law, because his brother is no better than him." Juliana Morrison could not hear more about her son, as she said, "You are lucky that my son is quiet today." Sophia looked at her and smiled with a reply, "And your son is lucky that I remain quiet every day." Mila and her parents became nervous at the thought that Sophia would reveal the Madibond in front of Victor. Alpha Harry gave a stern look to Abraham and said, "Tell your sister to shut." "Dad." Brian's one word stopped Harry Morrison. He looked at his son. Brian's gaze was telling him not to say anything to his gamma. Victor was enjoying the family drama as he ate quietly while looking at everyone. Brian got up from his chair and said, "I'm done here." Sophia glanced at his plate and saw that he had not finished his food. She moved her gaze away from it. Did Brian lose his appetite? She could not count how many meals she skipped after he abandoned her in the hospital with a broken heart, revealing how little he thought of her. When Brian exited the living room, all of his officials quickly finished their meals and left. Sophia and Victor also got up and left the pack house. When Sophia got out of the pack house, she let out a deep breath. "Are you okay? Do you feel weaker after meeting him? Victor asked. His words made her realize that she did not feel okay after leaving the pack. She knew it was because of her wolf, but she refused to give in. No, I'm not. That's great. Sophia remained silent throughout the ride, and Victor did not push her to speak to him. He only asked her once if she had any issues with the 2-week decision. She replied that, since he had already decided and announced it to others without consulting her, there was no point in asking her now. Sophia wanted to ask Victor many things tonight, but her wolf was not pleased, so she had to prevent herself from speaking further. After dropping her off at her house, Victor left. Sophia entered her house and checked on her mother, who was soundly sleeping. She proceeded to her bedroom afterward. Instead of changing her clothes, she lay on her bed. She stared at the ceiling for a long time. This was all she wanted, to humiliate Brian Morrison. Then why was she not feeling happy? She would have to push herself more. Like Victor said, she could not get weaker in front of him. While staring at the ceiling, she didn't even realize when her eyes closed, and she fell asleep. It was midnight when she opened her eyes. All of the lights in her room were turned off. Only the moonlight shining through the window lit up the dark room. Sophia rubbed her eyes and looked around her room until her eyes landed on a man. Her eyes widened in shock. A man was standing beside the window. With one hand tucked into his pocket, he held a cigarette in the other. The smoke around him, along with the moonlight, was glowing. She immediately sat up on the bed and gasped loudly. "You!" The man inhaled the smoke deeply, as his eyes were outside the window. After a few seconds, he let the smoke out of his mouth, blurring his vision in front. He heard Sophia's voice but did not turn to face her. Her shocked voice was telling him that she never expected him to be here. "What are you doing here in my room, Alpha Brian?" Sophia asked, as she could not believe her eyes. Brian's eyes grew hazy before becoming clear. His face was glowing in the moonlight. If any woman had seen how he looked under it, she would have wanted to keep watching him. He was the moon child that every Nightshade pack member had been waiting for many years. He possessed powers that others were unaware of. His ability to think and act was far superior to anyone else's. The man with so many abilities did not need to be bound by a mate bond. It was only the law that prevented him from moving. However, given how he handled every situation on his side, he could have simply killed the person he did not want and moved on. Since no one would have been aware of his mate, nobody would have ever spoken out against him. Then what was there to stop him? What was it that he could not push out of his heart? Why could he not plan anything under control when it came to one woman? Did he really love her that much? Did she finally become his weakness? "I'm asking you something. How dare you come?" Sophia paused when he turned to face him. She looked stunned as she saw his face. It was as if something had stopped her. She stared at him, and he also did not break eye contact. He noticed her changing expressions until they became cold, so cold that her sharp gaze could cut right through his heart. Sophia, on the other hand, clenched her jaw. Why is he here? She thought in her mind, since he was not replying to her. Brian took one last deep puff from his cigarette and crashed the butt against the window frame. After placing it on a side, he walked over to the bed. Sophia observed him silently, but when she saw him approach the bed, she could not help but back away a little. "How dare you come into a woman's room like that? I will call my brother." He came to a halt in front of her and looked at her. His silence was making her feel uncomfortable. But then he broke the silence and asked, "What will your brother do to me?" he asked calmly. She frowned at him after hearing his question. She shook her head in disbelief. "Is this the way an alpha should behave? You think you can come into just any woman's bedroom at any time without her permission?" "You are not just any woman to me," he muttered. "Yeah, you are right. I'm your rival's woman." His calm face darkened after hearing her words. It was as though he did not want to put on a calm face anymore in front of her. Sophia did not feel afraid about it. Instead, he yelled at him, "Leave my room right now, or I will scream to call my brother here." Immediately after that, she was on the verge of screaming, but before she could do so, Brian positioned his knee on the bed and pressed his palm against her mouth. She was surprised by his actions. The closeness caused her eyes to widen. He was so close to her that it caused her wolf to react. She glared at Brian with a furious expression. She did not like how her wolf behaved so submissively in front of this man. She tried to move his hand, but was unable to do so because he was as solid as a stone. His gaze lingered on her face, seemingly capturing every detail. She became enraged and bit his hand. He raised a brow to mock her because it did not hurt him that much. She then bit him so hard that she felt a taste of blood in her mouth. "Your brother is not at home. Therefore, there's no need to make a fuss over calling him. Your mother is sick, so we should have a quiet conversation." Sophia paused, then stopped biting. She had almost forgotten that her mother would wake up. She did not want to make her worry. When Brian removed his hand from her mouth, he noticed that there was blood on his palm and that it was coming out of the bite marks. "Even if your brother was present, he could not have stopped me from coming here." Saying that, he sucked his palm where she had bitten while looking at her. It surprised her. She realized that she could not talk to the man in anger. It would only give him pleasure. So she tried to calm herself first and took a deep breath. "Alpha Brian, may I ask why you are here?" she asked with a tone as if she were talking with a stranger. Brian removed his palm from his mouth. Sophia looked at it in the faint glow of the moonlight and noticed that it had already healed. "I wanted to see you, so I thought, why wait for the next day?" he said after sitting on the bed in front of her. She tried to move back, but her back pressed against the headboard because there was no room to move backward. She did not respond, simply staring at him, indicating that she did not appreciate it at all. Brian moved his gaze across her face until it rested on her lips. There was blood on the corner of her lips. He lifted his hand and used his thumb to wipe it, and then he put his thumb into his mouth. Sophia's eyes nearly changed color from what he was doing with her. His charms enticed her wolf, who desired to take control. However, she froze when he looked into her eyes and said, "Don't marry him, Sophia." Sophia was stunned. She immediately pushed Brian, causing him to move slightly. Then she rose from the bed, moving away from him. She made her way to the switchboard and turned on the lights in her room. When she turned around, Brian had already risen. She glared at him and said, "Just leave my room right now. I will not tolerate this disrespect, Alpha Brian. I am no longer any ordinary woman but the soon-to-be Luna of the Moon Valley Pack." Brian gave her a serene look and muttered, "Stop taking the name of that pack." Sophia lifted her brows. "Sorry? Why can't I take that pack's name? Let me guess what offended you." She folded her arms across her chest and tapped her finger on her chin as if considering the reason. "Oh yes, I got it. It is because you have been banished from that pack," she said sarcastically. He frowned at her, noticing how she began to speak in different ways. He turned away from her and looked around her room. "Nice room," he said, ignoring her remarks. She parted his lips in surprise. She was trying to humiliate him, but he was complimenting her room? Was he even real? Brian moved to the other side of the bed when he noticed a photo frame. He grabbed the photo and noticed it was a family portrait of her family. In the photo, she appeared to be happy. It was taken when she was very young. He stared at the photo for a while, as if thinking about something. Sophia made her way to him and snatched the photo frame from him. "Don't touch any of my things." He gave her a look and said, "I have no intention of breaking it the way you broke mine." Sophia realized he was talking about their first encounter. That day, he entered his room and mistook it for Bruce's. She broke his photo frame that day. She remembered how he yelled at her that day and how his fiancée entered the room after him and mocked her about being Bruce's girlfriend. It infuriated her. This man had been belittling her from the start. It was her turn to give it back to him. She put the photo frame back in its place and responded, "What is the point of displaying fake love for your brother by keeping a photo in your room? Your brother doesn't like you that much anyway. He knew your true colors and had warned me numerous times before." Brian did not like her words, but instead of reacting, he sat on the edge of the bed, pulling out a cigarette packet and a lighter. He placed the packet on the bed after pulling out a cigarette from it. He held the cigarette between his lips and was about to light it, but Sophia snatched the cigarette from his lips and threw it to the floor. Brian lifted his gaze at her. She shot him an angry look. You are such a chain smoker, all the time, cigarette, cigarette, and cigarette. He turned off the lighter and placed it next to the packet. He let out a sigh and muttered, Then what should I do? I came here to talk, but you will not let me do so. I am not interested in listening to you. Just leave my house. If you really want to smoke, just go to Milla Lawrence's house and smoke there. She is going to be your wife, so she should see how her future husband actually is. A dirty smoker who enjoys smoking while mentally planning the futures of others. Brian lost his cool after hearing her. He glared at her and asked, Why did you bring her into the conversation? Should I bring up the fact that you started to cross your limits these days with that man? With raised eyebrows, Sophia said, What did you just say? The person who has exceeded all limits will now tell me what my limit is. Brian noticed she was becoming angrier. He lowered his tone and softened it. Look, I did not come here to argue with you. Yeah, sure. You came here to order me not to marry Victor, and you expected me to obey you while bowing my head. Brian stared at her. She appeared enraged at him, but her rude tone deeply hurt him. All of a sudden, he reached for her hand, grabbed her wrist, and pulled her close to him. He wrapped his arms around her waist and leaned his head against her chest, tightly hugging her. Sophia was frozen by his sudden action. It was as if the sensation of the mate bond had returned to her, and she felt a jolt inside her body. Her wolf started howling in an attempt to get closer to her mate. Like a spell, his warmth engulfed her completely. She wondered if he was a magician capable of enchanting anyone with his charms. She came back to her senses when he uttered something. I missed you. She blinked her eyes. Unbeknownst to her, the emotion that had been roving in her eyes for a few seconds was slowly fading. Her eyes flashed ocean blue for a moment before returning to black. She looked fierce with her dark, emotionless eyes. They were the coldest anyone had ever seen. She grabbed his arms and tried to free herself, but his firm grip did not budge. When he raised his head to look at her without unwrapping his arms, she spoke coldly, staring at the blank wall. Stop uttering nonsense. There was nothing between us to make you miss me. His hands loosened as his brows furrowed. There was nothing between us. Are you talking about the deal of fulfilling your desire that you forced me to agree to in order to save my brother's position while I was your personal secretary? Don't marry him, he muttered while gritting his teeth, avoiding her question. She realized all of his words came to a stop in one thing. He was only concerned that she was marrying Victor Laurent, nothing else. I will. You told me you loved me. How can you marry another man? He asked in disbelief. She moved her gaze away from the wall and glanced down at him. She slowly leaned down toward his face and smirked at him. Her gaze was fixed on him, as if she were trying to remember Victor's words about becoming weaker by looking into his eyes. That was just my foolishness in the past. And love? In this world, love doesn't matter, only power does. Isn't that what you told me a year ago, Alpha Brian? I am just walking down the same path as you. Brian looked intently at Sophia. It was his own words that he had said to hers, and she brought them back to his mind. Suddenly, the temperature of the air in the bedroom rose. The eye contact between the two people was something else. One of their eyes was cold, while the other was soft. Time seemed to have turned the table, and they found themselves on the other side of where they had been. After giving him a shoulder pat, Sophia kept her posture straight. She took a step back when she realized that after saying those words to Alpha Brian, she did not shake even a little bit. Let's not talk more. Just go back. I have no desire to have a friendly relationship with my rival Alpha. It will be awkward to hurt him during the war, you know. I mean, if war breaks out in the future. By the way, don't think my fiancé is after your pack the same way you are after his. Her mocking tone affected Brian. He got up from the bed and said, Fiancé and all, huh? You turned down my offer to be my mistress, but accepted that man's, Luna's, position. Do you even know that man? Because I see no difference here. She scowled at him after hearing what he said. She could not believe he was comparing a Luna's position to a mistress position. A Luna was the Alpha's wife, whereas a mistress was a woman who satisfied the Alpha's sexual desires. The main difference was that one woman slept with her own husband, while the other slept with someone else's husband. A dignified woman would never agree to be a mistress of a man if she had the option to back out. Are you kidding me? Now you are thinking that both positions are the same? Or did you come here to brainwash me with these things? Because I may look stupid, but I am not that stupid. You were the one who brought me to this stage. When he took a step forward, she took a step back. Don't get too close to me. My fiancé will not like it. As you said, he is evil. He can kill you too. He scoffed upon hearing that. Kill me? Does he have the balls to even think about it? She glared at him. Don't talk like that in front of me about him. You cannot even speak properly when he stands in front of you. He is always one step ahead of you. Do you really think so? He asked, moving close to her. She did not move, demonstrating that she was unconcerned about his closeness. It would not even shake her a little. When he came to a stop in front of her, he said, 2 weeks is more than enough time to realize that you made the wrong decision. He is not a very nice man. There is never a moment when he is not surrounded by women. He is not going to bring you joy. For you, the position would be nothing more than a showcase. She was taken aback by his words. Nevertheless, she did not respond. She believed what Brian told her about the women around him might be right. Victor himself had told her this. But because he said he liked her, she believed he could change himself. It was not like she loved him, though, even if he did not change. It did not bother her. If you can think of having a mistress, why can't he? She shot back at him. He raised an eyebrow and inquired, So you do not have any issues with it? No. You are completely ignorant of everything there is to know about him. I know him. He told me about himself. And you trusted him? Of course. At least he is not keeping any fiancé a secret from me. He plans to marry me directly. I am going to be his wife. In a fit of rage, he drew her closer to him while tightly gritting his teeth. Shut up. Stop saying this crap. What makes you so angry? You thought he and I were just faking it in front of you, right? I bet you never imagined we would be ready to marry so soon, she said, pushing his chest. Brian tried to calm himself because he did not want to be rude to her. Don't ruin your life with foolishness by getting between two alphas' chests. It will only make you a pawn, vulnerable to death at any time. She stopped struggling after hearing him. She gave him a closely scrutinized look. You did not come to see me at any point during the entire year. You were living happily with another woman and were planning a married life with her. What happened to you suddenly? Are you, by any chance, afraid of Alpha Victor? Brian released her, causing her to step backward. He planted some misinformation in your mind. Ask him who Alpha Brian is. If he is a real man, he will dare to tell you about me. She was baffled. What was there to ask? They were rivals. They had no good relationship with one another. So why would she ask him about Brian? Someone hit her mind as she asked, Who is he to you? Why do you hate him so much? If you are the one who is grabbing his pack, then it is supposed to be him who should hate you the most, not you. His expression eased after hearing the question. Sophia frowned at him before asking another question. Why are you banished from that pack? What sin did you commit that caused them to ban you there, Alpha Brian? He averted his gaze from her, as if he did not want to talk about it. Sophia observed his look. Her curiosity led her to wonder what had occurred in the past. All of the members of the pack were in the dark about it. The only people who were aware of it were the two families. She was going to be a part of one of the families, so why could she not know it? Why are you nervous, Alpha Brian? Brian gave her a piercing look with his sharp gaze and answered, Nothing can make me nervous, not even the thought of my death. I am forbidden from saying anything. But why don't you ask your so-called fiancé about it instead of me? The situation was utterly perplexing for Sophia. If he had committed a sin, why did he tell her to ask Victor about it? Is he too proud of committing sin? Otherwise, why would any pack banish another head alpha? She turned around and made her way to the door. I will ask him when I feel like it. Your banishment has nothing to do with me or my marriage to Victor. I just want you to leave me alone and let me sleep peacefully. He walked in her direction. She assumed he would leave her room. Instead of doing so, he paused to the side of her near the door to the room. You are being too disrespectful to your head, Alpha. You need to learn some manners. If nothing else, you ought not to behave that way toward me in public. Sneering, she turned to face him. I am a bad woman. Now what will you do? Punish me? A small grin formed on the left corner of his lips. She could not believe he would be back in this mood after the way they had ended the conversation. He stepped close to her and whispered, Punish you? I can't tell you how badly I want to punish you, baby girl. You have grown too bold in a single year. Shut up. She could not help but stutter as she remembered the past and realized what kind of punishment he was talking about. He stood firm and raised his hand. He began to stroke her hair slowly but gently. She glared at him but did not push him. He ignored her anger and muttered, I can't tell you how I kept myself from chopping his fingers whenever he touched you. He paused for a moment, then met her icy gaze. His eyes grew darker as he spoke. I noticed that you were also touching him. I wanted to punish you for that. If you keep doing it, I'm not sure how long I will be able to control myself. What will you do? Kill me? He did not respond to her questions. His hand, which was stroking her hair, slowly moved to her cheek. He caressed her cheek with his knuckles and murmured, Stop overthinking. Sophia stared at Brian. Her wolf was feeling his every touch. She had the intention of pushing him, but she believed that her wolf was preventing her from doing so. In this world, the mate bond was a strange phenomenon. One mate did not value it, and the other mate could not get over it. Fate was really unfair to her. In front of her was the man who she had loved the most in the past. But now she hated him. She hated that her body and her wolf reacted to him. She despised how he was controlling her wolf and keeping her frozen in place. You can only bother me for 2 weeks, because after that I will leave forever, she said. His eyes turned red as he asked, Do you think I will let you go? This time she pushed his hand and replied, You are not the one to stop me. I am not obliged to fulfill your desire forever. You claim to have freed me a year ago, so why are you here now? As he moved closer to her, she leaned her back against the door in order to keep some distance from him. What about you? Did you set me free, Sophia Berge? I let go of every mistake you made, ignored your disrespect, did not punish your brother for how he reacted, and let go of all the humiliations I had to endure in the business world for you. But now, I can't let go of one thing, and that's you. There were no words that Sophia could utter. She recalled all the things she had done in this 1 year. This man is the master of manipulation. I can't get into his words, she said to herself. Her recollections of the past came to her in the form of flashbacks. The night she first told him about her feelings, he made fun of her. On his birthday, she gave herself to him with the hope that he also had feelings for her, but all she got in return was a reminder of the old deal, which she had completely forgotten. He left her all alone on her birthday, breaking her heart before she could even cut the cake. When he got engaged to another woman, he did not even consider returning to her or going to see if she was all right. How would she forget these things? They penetrated her mind like arrows. How could anyone ignore what she had gone through? Your game is over, Alpha Brian. I am no longer that Sophia anymore. You came here only after you realized your rival was winning over you. I am fully aware of your intentions. You will never cancel your marriage and lose that half pack, so you came here to persuade me to cancel mine. How selfish you are. She moved him away from her and opened the door so he could leave. He looked at the door and said, My marriage to Mila is an agreement that I must keep no matter what. My hands are tied, but not yours. I cannot see you getting married to another man. I will never let you do that. Cage? You mean your hands are tied to have another pack in your name forcefully? Oh my God, you really think I am that dumb? You are making so many excuses to get me to cancel the wedding, as if you have feelings for me, she said mockingly. He turned his head to look at her and asked in a deep voice, What if I tell you that I do have feelings for you, and that is why I don't want this wedding? Will you believe me? Sophia stared at Brian for a few seconds without saying anything, and then she burst out laughing. I can't believe it. A wedding shakes you so much that you start to talk about feelings and all. She grabbed her stomach and used the other hand to support herself against the door. Brain looked at her face. He liked how she laughed, even though she was just mocking him. Strive to laugh and smile at all times. Even though your glare looks cute to me, a smile suits you better than that scowl. When she heard him, she went completely still. She glared at him with a scowling face. My glare looks cute to you? Yeah, he replied with a chuckle. He did not bring up what he was talking about, as if he knew she would never believe it. Grabbing his arm, she shoved him out the door. Don't bother me again. She was about to close the door, but he grabbed the corner and stopped her. Get used to feeling bothered, because I am going to bother you until you cancel the wedding. In your dreams. That's true. You sometimes appear in my dreams. Do I need to tell you what you do? She did not let him finish his sentence because she bit his hand to remove it from the door. The moment he removed his hand from the door, she shut it on his face. I hate you. Keep it in your mind, she shouted from inside. She huffed as she heard the sound of footsteps fading behind the door. She went to lay down on the bed. Her hands were covering her face as she tried to calm herself. She did not want to face this man. She removed her hands and recalled when he talked about feelings. It did not move her heart because she was not an idiot anymore and would not fall for his words. Look how far you have come, Alpha Brian. Now you are talking about feelings to the woman whose heart you brutally rejected. On the following morning, she hurriedly got ready to go to the university. She made the decision to apply for a transfer certificate. She would leave the pack soon, so she could no longer continue her studies here. When she left her bedroom, she found her mother preparing breakfast. She spoke with her mother about her wedding. Her mother was not surprised because the wedding was scheduled for next month anyway. However, she asked her one question. Do you really like that man? She thought about Victor and realized that he respected and accepted her in front of his family and the world. No man could be a better match for her. So her response was simply yes. Sophia tried to tell her mother that she wanted to take her to the Moon Valley pack, but her mother flatly refused, saying, Your father died in this pack. How can I die anywhere else? This is our pack, and I want to stay here until I die. This pack is more than just a place. It is also a memory of my parents and husband. Sophia felt terrible inside, thinking that she would have to leave her family. She believed she would come here to meet her family often after the wedding, since Victor and his family were allowed to come here. Sophia respected her mother's decision and did not convince her. She went to the university to apply for a transfer certificate. The office staff assured her that they would inform her. Everyone was aware of Sophia and Victor's wedding date because word had spread throughout the pack. People started to stay away from her. Some of them even asked if she would invite them to her wedding. I can't believe you are leaving us. Everything is moving so fast. I can't just accept it, Sarah spoke out with an upset tone. Sarah and Nolan came to speak with Sophia. They looked so sad, which made Sophia upset. I will come to meet you both often. Don't be sad. Sarah shed tears as she hugged Sophia. I can't live without you, Sophia. We are best friends. How can you leave me here? Sophia hugged her back. Nolan is here with you. I believe he will take care of you. You know why I am getting married to Victor. Sarah broke the hug and looked at her. Is it only because you are mad? You have to abandon everything. Is Alpha Victor really worth it? Sophia nodded her head. I certainly hope so. At the very least, he is better than Alpha Brian. Nolan told her that he had nothing to say about the wedding. The wedding was announced and the date had been set. So, all they could do was wish her well. Sophia left the university and went straight to the orphanage. She had not spoken with Victor today. She wondered if everything was okay. He texted her that he would meet her tomorrow. Sophia remembered that Ken was going to introduce her to his girlfriend today. He mentioned that his girlfriend was eager to meet her. She was looking forward to meeting his girlfriend as well. She called Ken in the evening after spending time with the orphanage's young children. Ken sent her the address of a club. Sophia took her leave from Mr. Davidson and then made her way to the club. When she entered the club, she was immediately enveloped by the colorful smoke and loud music. Ignoring men's stares, she searched for Ken. Ken waved his hand at her from the bar. Sophia walked to the bar while avoiding the men around her. You call me to a club to meet your girlfriend? You could have picked a cafe or a decent place, she complained to him. Sorry, my girlfriend is a little party freak, he replied with a laugh. Sophia rolled her eyes and asked, So where is she? I can't wait to meet the unfortunate lady. Her tone was sarcastic. She was pulling his legs for fun. He laughed in response to her words. Here she is, he said, gesturing to a beautiful woman sitting on a stool nearby. The woman turned her stool to face Sophia. Sophia was taken aback when she saw the familiar woman. Angelia Gulliver? The woman smiled at her and lifted her glass to greet her. I was right. It's you, little birdie.